In this video, I'm going to explain my $1 million digital empire blueprint. Now, if you appreciate the drawings, you'll know that I got this going on, but it's actually a system made up of 3 separate pieces. And once you get to like the perfect intersection or whatever, you actually unlock a $1 million digital empire that obviously will come during time. Now, you're probably thinking, who the hell have I done this for? If you don't know already, you probably recognize my voice. Maybe you've seen my face on a few live streams, whatever it may be. But I'm Nero Knowledge's right-hand man, and he is my guy, but he's my client as well. So in 4 weeks, he actually gained 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And in 8 months, he gained 300,000. Now, when Nero started, he started on Snapchat. I didn't work with him on Snapchat, of course, because it was literally just posting black screens with text and he was selling courses. Then he moved over to Instagram. And I was telling him at that point, yo, you should be on YouTube. Like, Instagram's good, but YouTube is where it's at. Plus, you're good at this, blah, blah, blah. He was basically an expert that wasn't known. Like, if you knew, you knew, but he just wasn't known. Now he's more known, right? And he went on Instagram, then he started running meta ads and posting Instagram reels, which was good. He was probably making around like 20,000, 30,000. Still doing good, but he wanted more. And he finally decided to jump on YouTube when like we started working together, but he still wouldn't listen precisely. And we did about 8 months on and off for YouTube, his way, faceless videos. Then he finally took my advice on board. And then from there, he gained 100,000 in 4 weeks, 300,000 in 8 months. And as a result, his business like 4x, 5x, whatever it may be. And a lot of people speculate that he's doing like 300K months, but I like to keep it conservative. Like, you can obviously take this blueprint and do way more than $100,000 months, 100%. But this is all organically, by the way. So this isn't with running ads. This is just pure organic. And his IG grew as a result. And obviously he still posts on IG, the clips from his YouTube. And it's not just him that I helped Gavin Speaks as well. But Gavin Speaks didn't have a high ticket offer at the time. And it's quite funny because Gavin was in the same industry, and I was like, I don't want a conflict of interest. So I'm not sure how I should actually do this. But anyway, I helped him anyway. And his school community was able to add an extra $3,000 in monthly recurring revenue. I think he gained like 5,000 subscribers in the process too. And what I like to say, like in the Digital Empire Blueprint, like we're focused on actually adding money to your revenue, like adding revenue to your business. Not precisely the followers or the subscribers that you'll gain, but as a result, I kind of found like it's a byproduct, right? And then once he did launch his high ticket offer, he made an $8,000 sale in like 3 weeks of launching it. So take that as you will. Then we have Black Bezos. And this was before I even started working on YouTube. This was just Instagram. He went from 13,000 followers on Instagram to 500,000. Now, he also grew on TikTok, but I don't really focus on TikTok because the demographic of people, if you're trying to build a business that's hitting 1 million, you're probably not focused on TikTok, right? So it's Instagram and YouTube that I mainly focus on. But later that year, from building that audience, he then went on to make $100,000 months. And he even made a YouTube video recently saying he sold his business. Now, most people keep me on retainer once they actually learn the blueprint and I help them implement it. But one thing I want you to understand why the blueprint is so important is because I actually filmed this video before, but it was a bit choppy. So I'm a freak like that, man. I don't know if it's the autism or what, ADHD, but I'm like, I gotta do this again to make it right. Anyway, so there's like a 4-step process when it comes to, a working business, right? So if you're a coach, consultant, advisor, service provider, you probably go through these steps. You need to attract your right customer, your client. Then you need to nurture them so that they trust you enough to actually want to jump into the conversion process, which is the sales process. That could be a sales call. That could be an in-person consultation. That could be a webinar. That could be DM selling, whatever it may be. And then from there, you fulfill, they buy, and you basically help them. You basically deliver whatever you said you were going to deliver. Now, the biggest lever you can pull is the marketing aspect. And I say this for multiple reasons. One, if you can get more people, more traffic, or attract more people, you will have more people to nurture. More people to nurture means more people in the sales process. More people in the sales process means you'll make more money. But more importantly, if you can attract and nurture correctly to the highest level, not only will you get more people, but they will also be better clients. And you'd also be able to charge more. I recently went into like the whole conversation of like branding with my girlfriend and a few other people. I was like, it's crazy how brands can charge you like double, triple the same as something that's not branded or has a weaker brand, right? For example, paracetamol and ibuprofen. In the UK, we've got like Asda. I don't know if it's like Walmart for you American guys, but you walk into Asda, you see paracetamols, Asda branded. You see paracetamols, that's another brand. I don't know these brands. But I would personally look at it and be like, that brand looks better. I've probably seen it before. It's probably going to definitely work compared to the normal Asda paracetamols. And I think there was a whole thing a few years ago on like social media. The paracetamols are exactly the same. The only difference is the wrapping, is the packaging, is the branding, right? And it's the same when it comes to designer t-shirts. I see people wear designer and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because why did you pay £200 for that t-shirt when the same quality is here and it's like £30? And it's because of the branding. It's what the brand's associated with. It's how they feel while they're wearing the brand or once they achieve the brand, you know? So like if you're able to do that, attract, nurture, and also have the correct branding, everything changes for you. Everything absolutely changes for you. So that's basically what we're going to go through. I'm going to show you the 3 systems or steps or whatever you want to, mechanisms that how I actually help people achieve this. So let's get into that. So right in the middle of it, you can say, I've given it the name of the digital empire. Some people call it a personal brand. I thought about calling it your digital brand. But really, this brand travels with you in real life. So I didn't want to just call it a digital brand. I want to just call it a digital empire. Some people call it lifestyle empire, lifestyle business, whatever, right? For me, it's your 7-figure digital empire. And that's 100K. Really and true, that's like 80 something thousand a month. But let's say 100,000 a month because that's what 2 of my clients were able to achieve. So I know that's the result. And plus you can go past 100,000, right? And this is all with organic traffic. So the first step or the first mechanism is building an anomaly personal brand. And it's important that you recognize the words anomaly here. And there's 3 subcategories to each section that I'm going to go through. And once you implement all of this, you might be weaker on 1 point, 2 points, but once you strengthen those, everything else falls into place. But the issue with personal branding right now is like, one, there's a lot of people doing personal branding, right? But I see a lot of people all the time. They're like, yeah, I went to ChatGPT for my ideas and that's how I came up with this video. And I was like, can you see why it performed like that now? And my issue with AI and coming up with ideas inherently is the fact that it's built off patterns and everyone's going to AI for ideas, which means everyone's going to be coming up with the same content, the similar stuff, which means you're not going to stand out. It's literally going to make it harder for you to stand out. And some people are going to be like, but I use specific prompts. 9 times out of 10, someone used a very similar prompt, which got them a very similar answer to you. Or people are even selling their prompts or using it as lead magnets. So everyone is basically going to be doing the same thing. I think I've given this name like the AI paradox or whatever. I'm not saying I'm anti-AI. Inside the program, I've got like custom chat GPTs that's going to help you speed up the process for certain things. But I don't ever kind of say, hey, take an idea from ChatGPT and just run with that. Or even let AI script your videos. Like to an extent, you probably could re-script, or you can take the base script and restructure it. But if you're taking exactly what AI gives you and using it, you're probably cooked. Regardless, the 3 things that we mainly focus on, right, is clear messaging. Because without a clear message, your audience is going to be extremely confused. And we also focus on the standout formula. And there's a few things inside of the standout formula. Can't go through everything today, but like catchphrases, slogans, your enemies, your heroes, etc. All of these things are in the standout formula. And these things help you stand out in your niche. And speaking of niche, we also have what I call the niche positioning matrix. Now, the reason I call it a matrix is because there's like 3 layers to it. So then you got your core mission, you got your brand mission, then you've got like the outer layer, which attracts people into your solar system. I've got a whole solar system analogy for it. Absolutely amazing. Some people call it the universe. I've probably called it the universe before. Doesn't matter. But once you combine all of these things, you really make an Anomaly personal brand, plus obviously thinking outside the box and using your own story and using things that no one else can replicate. That's what I'm huge on. Because if you're going down the highway, you're going down the motorway and you see a cow, you're going to be like, ah, it's just a normal brown cow. You see a purple cow, you're like, shit, that stands out. Or if everyone's smiling in a group photo, but one person's making a silly face, you're going to be like, ah, look, that person's got their tongue out, or that person's making a silly face. They stand out easily. So it's basically helping you position yourself correctly, branding yourself correctly, obviously not negatively associating your brand with something. You don't see LV handing out their t-shirts to the homeless. It'll be bad for the brand, you know, the brand image. Anyway, the next side we have content. Oh, I don't want to just say content actually. The next side we have effective content creation. Now, this is super important, and there's also 3 things in here. So you can say here is getting more of the traffic. So we have viral content strategies, and then we have the algorithm formula, because what we do here is we focus on like the human behavior, the psychology behind what the algorithm actually wants. So then it's not every single week you need to chase the algorithm. Like some people really depend on like trending formats, but really they're just not understanding the psychology. Now, of course, there's trending formats on each platform and there's nuances that we can lean into to get more traffic. But once you understand how the algorithm works, your videos will just work timelessly anyway. And if you're able to create viral content, or at least niche viral content, then you're going to get the correct eyeballs looking at your offer, looking at your brand, looking at your page, be inside your community, etc. And then lastly, we actually focus on a content system, or otherwise a strategy. Now, this is slightly different for obviously everyone, because everyone's in different situations, and depending on like how much followers or subscribers you have, how big your community is, where you currently are with your offer, the strategy could be different. You could be posting more, you could be posting less, you could be posting different types of formats, you could be experimenting more, you could be experimenting less, we could be doubling down on something, we could be tripling down on something, we could just be like, let's just see how it goes. So it all depends. By the way, if you are making at least 10,000 a month and you're a coach, consultant, advisor, service provider, and you want to scale to a 7-figure digital empire, build your personal brand, create effective content, and do this last thing that I'm about to explain that's going to allow you to build that seven-figure digital empire, there's a link in the description that will give you all the details. It's a one-on-one program, so you're working with me. And if you do have any questions, I'm going to link my IG there too. I thought of a secret word. As I said, I recorded this already, so I've got the word in my head. Message me on Instagram, De Gea. D-E space G-E-A. If you don't know, that's a Manchester United goalkeeping legend. And if you message me that, I'm going to assume that you want to be saved. You know what I'm trying to say? So if you want to be saved and you want to build that brand, then drop me a message. I'll answer any questions that you have. Even if you're not like super sure that you want to sign up, you can just message me. I don't mind. Anyway, now the last part to really make this come all together, that really puts this all together, is actually lead gen. Or in other words, you could say the nurturing process. Now, as I said before, you could be someone that thinks, okay, cool, my trust building, my nurturing process is amazing. I don't need anything else. But you probably don't have a strong enough brand, which is why they choose your competitors over you. Or maybe you're not creating enough effective content. So you're not getting as much views as you potentially could from the content that you're creating, or you're constantly chasing the algorithm, or you don't even have a strategy in place. You're just posting randomly. You've got no intentional content going out serving a purpose. And if obviously you're doing that wrong, any of these wrong, then you're actually limiting how much you could be making. So inside the lead gen section, I've actually got one of my favorites is the trust booster. And this is just a series of things that we do to boost trust in your current audience. And then anyone else that comes into your audience or ecosystem also gets that boosted. So we're out here building assets with our content instead of kind of just posting and hoping this does the job right now. This just is going to do the job now, but also 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, and it's all going to compound. That's also the power of a digital empire. It's all stacking, right? And then this is something that I wanted to call it the binge flicks, but I think I went with the name just bingeable content or the bingeable formula or something like that. But it's essentially having a way to make people binge your content. So instead of them being nurtured across 9 months, they're now being nurtured in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks, maybe even a week. We have different buying habits. And I also noticed this with myself. I found someone literally, I found Taki about, I don't know when I found him, but I found him, I binged about 7 videos in a row. I said, whoa, this is crazy. Anyway, the last one is potentially my favorite because it sounds the best, but it's also most crucial because I hate sales scores. So I like the pre-sold advantage. It's a series of things that you do to basically, as it says, pre-sell your lead. So when you're DMing them, when you're messaging them, when you're jumping on calls with them, they essentially already know who you help. They know what you do. They know all about you. They basically have a parasocial relationship with you. So then you're basically, it's more of an interview for you, you know? It's more of, do I like this person? Can I see myself helping them? And then if you can, you basically offer, you pitch, and they're pretty much on board already because they're pre-sold. And once you do all of this, you're golden. So like, for example, I would say Mahiz, he joined recently. He wanted to focus heavily on the lead gen side, the nurturing side. So that's what we did. We put out more trust boosting content. We found a way to make it more bingeable, pre-sold, and he started generating inbound leads from YouTube. And obviously they came already pre-sold. For Nero Knowledge, you could say that it's the Anomaly brand and also effective content. I would say most people struggle on, I would say most people are weak on all three, to be honest, but some people already have the content in place, maybe a tweak in system. Some people have the brand in place. Some people struggle with the nurturing process. Some people need all three. Again, depending on who you are, I'll obviously let you know what you need by asking you a few questions. But again, if you are a coach, consultant, advisor, service provider making at least $10,000 a month and you want to scale further, let's say you're stuck at 20, stuck at 30, stuck at 50, whatever it may be, and you want to scale to 7 figures, using my 7-figure digital empire blueprint, there's going to be a link in the description. A video explains everything in slightly more detail. It's not a long video, and then you can apply to work with me. If you have any questions, message me De Gea on Instagram. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. This is like the fourth time recording technically. The first time it was choppy. The second time I was trying to sort out the choppiness. The third time it was still not working, and hopefully this time it works. You'll know if it works because you'll be seeing this version.